Welcome, guys, to another episode of Real Dad Movement. Got a phenomenal guest who, just speaking earlier, it is like a bit of a Forrest Gump story. Geez, you got some amazing stories, mate, and I think we're going to have to create a series out of this, Jenno. What do you think?
Well, that sounds like a great idea to me. You should never let the truth get in the way of a good story, mate, should you?
This is the beauty, mate. They're truths and stories, but it's incredible. But look, thanks for giving us your time today, mate. I really appreciate it. It's even for me, for a selfish point of view, it's amazing to be able to catch up with you and touch base. I wanted to for a long time. It's been a long time. We first connected 05, 06. Was it when?
It's
or 07
time
maybe.
flies by. Time really flies by, Alex. Yeah, it does.
Amazing. But look, what I'd love to start with, mate, is obviously we'll dive into your story, and you've got some amazing value that you can give that a lot of fathers listening to this can take on board in their own lives, whether it's to do with fatherhood or themselves as men wearing the hat of fatherhood, as we all do. Mate, New Zealand Bravery Medal. Talk to us. Let's start there. What happened?
Well, look, after finishing my year with the Crusaders, I was brought back into rugby league at the Warriors, and this is a pivotal part in my life. Really, it's a huge turning point in my life, because at that point, probably at the end of 18 years building my career and spending a lot of them 18 years at the highest level within sport, professional sport, I felt like that was probably the highest point of my career. And that was to be head of athletic development at the Warriors. I could recruit my own staff, built my own high performance centre. It was a strength and conditioning coach's dream. We had two very, very wealthy owners that gave me an open checkbook. So, open slather, how good's that as an S&C coach, So it was a really exciting time. I'd spent a year at the Crusaders just after the earthquakes, which was quite traumatic. And just previous to that, leaving the Panthers after 5 years. So it was good to get to the Warriors. I felt like it was a great opportunity to actually maybe change the culture or improve the culture and do something really special with all the experience behind me. So everything was great. Life was great. Highly paid. Lived in a fantastic area. 2 weeks into the job, I didn't know my next door neighbour. We lived in quite a nice area because I was getting paid quite well at the time. And about 7 o'clock at night, we had this huge explosion. So my next door neighbour, we found out later that she'd filled her house full of gas containers, petrol containers, and decided to take her own life. Which is sad in itself. And when we talk about, mental issues, and it's good talking about, I suppose, the positive side of this story, but there's obviously a victim there as well. So with all due respect to the lady, I'm not going to blow this medal out of proportion with my ego, because it's a pretty serious subject. And because we know there's a lot of people out there suffering with mental health. So this is the extreme side of mental health, obviously. She felt the only way out for her was to do something so dramatic, which it was. So look, there's a giant explosion. This is the old image versus identity, which we can talk about a little bit later. So my image, Alex. My image is the Viking, 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And sometimes you can get mixed up with your identity and your image, So it's in your character, I suppose. I got out of the house, ran down the stairs, trying to put my shoes on. We had quite a big steep hill from the house where I was, and as it slowed me down a little bit. It was a good job, because as I turned the corner, the whole front of the house blew up, which would have killed me instantly anyhow. So I was quite lucky there. But ultimately, she was screaming, obviously, because she was obviously in the fire. Because she poured petrol onto herself as well. So, look, I went into this inferno. It wasn't. I suppose a normal house fire is bad enough, but this was like an inferno. So, look, ultimately, I went in. I was very lucky. I got the lady out. Very traumatic. When we talk about being fathers and dads and husbands, the thing that really affected me was obviously my wife, Sharon. She ran out with me, and she was screaming. She knew what I was going to do. She knows me. Me, Alex. I'm going in. The street's full of people running the way. I'm going. Jenno's going in. So she knew exactly what I wanted to do. So she was screaming at me not to go in. And then she was screaming so hard and she was panicking so much, there's nothing coming out, so nothing, no voice coming out. And I can remember, this thing used to play on my mind quite a lot. So I actually took a last look, a last glimpse, as just before I went into the flames, I stopped, turned round and just took that last glimpse, because I think deep down I thought, well, this is it, you know, I'm not going to see her again. And my last view of Sharon was like just looking at me in complete terror, like trying to scream and nothing coming out. So that played on my mind quite a lot after it, because as you know, Alex, you know, I love my family. I've always supported my family, and you know, they've always been priority in my life. But so why risk all that? Why leave my wife behind? Why leave my son behind, my daughter behind? You know, that again, that really played on my mind after the event. So the event happened pretty quickly. We got the lady out who was badly burned. Very traumatic, etc. So things happen. You give a statement to the police. Actual fact, the following morning, I actually got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and to train the boys. We took them to the sand dunes, and I can remember I just got up as normal, drove across the sand dunes, trained the Warriors on the sand dunes, and I was talking to the head coach at the time, Matthew. Oh yeah, there was a house fire next door to me last night. I pulled this lady out, blah blah blah. And I was coughing, and obviously I was coughing a little bit because I'd been inhaling smoke. But I didn't really have any. I had a bit of redness to my body, but the heat was so intense in the house. It just, you know. And when we came back, he actually drove back and went past the house. And by that time, the police had cordoned the area off because there'd been what they thought explosives in the house, because it wasn't. It was his house. In fairness, but you know, so it was always cordoned off, and he said, "Holy hell, Jenno, what the hell? This is the house. What's going on?" You know, he couldn't believe it. Anyhow, so I went in. The police asked me to go and make a statement because obviously the anti-terrorist squad was there, and you know, because they thought it was an explosion of some description. And I gave my statement, for which eventually, obviously, it goes through the process. You know, the police recommend you, then it goes through the, you know, obviously through the process till it comes to the Queen. And she felt it worthy for me to receive the New Zealand Bravery Medal, which is a great honour. You know, it's a great honour, and you know, I received that for my family more than anything, because I came out the fire a completely and utterly different human being. You know how I was, Alex. I was like larger than life. That was my image, you know. But I left something in that fire. So before I went in that fire, I was completely focused on my career. I'd dragged my family around the world, and they'd supported me. You know, coming from Bradford in the UK to Canberra, kids were only 11 years old. Schooling in Canberra was fantastic for the kids, so we knew we'd made the right decision. Wife made new friends, and we moved to Penrith, had to make new friends, got a new school system, the New South Wales system. And then I go to New Zealand. It was great for me because I was at the Crusaders, and we had 15 All Blacks in the team, some legendary players, so that was so inspirational for me. But my wife couldn't come because just after the earthquake, there's nowhere to live really, so separate from my family again. Then go to New Zealand. I think I came to a realization after time that I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing anymore. You know, I was in the job that I'd spent 20 years getting to, you know, really highly paid, dream job in the profession that I'd sacrificed everything for. And I just wasn't happy. It wasn't, and I really believed, I'm not a religious person, Alex, but I'm very spiritual. And I really believed that I survived that event for something. And it wasn't to work in elite professional sport anymore, even though in my profession, that's probably the dream scenario. So, and that played on my mind for 2 years. I wasn't myself. I didn't feel myself. I didn't coach my best. Was it post-traumatic stress? I don't think so. I'm not too sure. But after 2 years of being completely unhappy, I came home, which is Sydney, and that was a massive turning point in my life, that fire. And I felt like I'd survived for a reason, and the reason was to give back. Which I've set up a business now where I do generally give back to for the community, through young people. Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it? It's funny how, that image being larger than life and what you were saying, the image versus identity, but it's ultimately a collective of the two that's pulled you into a position of where you are now, which is what we spoke about, the Super Six. That's an amazing thing that you're doing, but it's really funny, isn't it, mate? Because at the crux and core of who you are is probably what dictates those split-second decisions, isn't it? And
well, it is, but that, you know, the really funny thing about it, Alex, it's not a funny thing, it's a pretty serious thing, is that one of the things I learned when I was at the Crusaders was the point of difference with the All Blacks. So they can control pressure through breath, and just conditioning their state of mind or their state. And there was an amazing sport there. So the All Black sports psychologist, a guy called Kerry Evans, he actually worked with the Crusaders, and he's a psychiatrist. He's probably the best in the world, and he taught me how to deal with pressure. Because obviously he was part of the coaching staff, so we used to go through all this thing. It's through breath, through scanning with the eyes. So under extreme pressure, obviously the blood goes back to the limbic part of the brain, which is just fight or flight. Usually in sport, we see that where athletes shut down. They either get aggressive, passive, or scared mentality. Understanding how you're hardwired is a really powerful thing. Understanding that you don't need 1,000 hours of therapy to get over it. You just probably need about 2 minutes of explaining what's going on with the biology of the brain, and how you can actually affect the biology of the brain just through breath, scanning with the eyes, and being dexterous, which actually tells the brain there isn't a threat. So the brain oxygenates itself. So I went through all this process with the genius Kerry Evans. It was a really strange thing. So the fire happened, which is, for me, as a human being, that was my greatest threat. That, I was going to die. This is it. You're facing death. So nothing's probably greater than that. So anyhow, when I got to the Warriors, I was talking to the coaching staff and the management team and said, look, we got to get this guy, Kerry Evans, in. Dead set. This guy is brilliant. If anybody can change the mentality of the dynamics of this team, it's this guy, So obviously in New Zealand, anybody that's working with the All Blacks is pretty well respected. So to cut a long story short, we actually got Kerry in. Before Kerry was allowed to speak to the players, we got him to speak to the owner and obviously the management team. Obviously I'd got him there, so I was under a bit of pressure. I hope I like this guy. So we went out. He did his normal presentation. This was probably a year after the event, after the fire. So I was sat there, and he started doing his talk about, obviously it's about breath, what's going on with the brain. If you learn to control it, it'll slow the situation down. Instead of making harsh decisions, you can make accurate decisions. And I'm thinking, I literally had a chill all over my body. And I had to stop him. I said, Kerry, you got to stop right now. And I explained to him, did you hear about the fire? So he said, no, I didn't. So I told him about it. And then I told him what I actually did, because I realized what I did before I went in, which was to do all those techniques subconsciously, scanning with the eyes, not closing down, breathing, staying calm. And I was completely calm when I went in. Obviously in that calmness and the ability to actually make decisions quickly, accurately. I might not be on the playing field making a decision, but that's what saved my life. Dead set, without question. If I didn't have that knowledge, I would have died, because I would have still gone in. Because under pressure, I'm aggressive. So I'll attack under pressure. So the fire was the threat, and I attacked it. The majority of the people in the street, it was either escape or freeze. It was either running away or just standing frozen. Yeah, that doesn't make them weak. It doesn't make me strong. That's just how I'm hardwired. But the ability to actually control my limbic part of the brain, to oxygenate the decision-making part of the brain, and the dexterity and the vision and everything else, definitely saved my life. So there was a couple of things there that I realized could really help young people, which was actually teaching them how to breathe correctly, about these high-performance processes. used by the world's greatest team. And so my young athletes learn these things. Yeah, it helps them with the sport, but more importantly, it helps them under pressure at school, if they're getting bullied, in life. So, my program's not a psychological program, but it's about developing athletes physically and emotionally. And I know that stuff really helps them.
Mm.
Yeah.
As it would, mate. Like that, these are phenomenal skill sets and tools that you wouldn't see in schools. And I'm not here to, my wife's a primary teacher, I'm not here to hack on the system, but the reality is looking inside of our lives and what's actually practical and what can help us move forward as human beings and evolve and be the best we can be.
Mm.
What you just mentioned is an amazing thing that everyone should be doing and or at least be aware of.
Yeah,
and
so,
see
yeah.
how that could fit into their life. And I mean, that's a real, for me, and a lot of people listening to this might not completely understand, but that's a real high-end thing, which has obviously been built off the back of a huge career dating all the way back to when you were young, mate.
1830. No, that's far back.
Yes, right. All the way when you were young, getting into, because you had bronchiolitis several times, I think it's single bronchitis, and getting into sport. And actually, would you mind sharing a bit of that as well, mate? Like, you've been in physical health and fitness, seeing the benefits of both, how it helps the mind and the body for, well, how long now, mate? Many decades.
Yeah. But I suppose I've been pivotal in professional sport in a lot of respects, but my background, the main thing, when I look back, the main thing about my life is that I had an amazing role model in my father, who still is. He's 85 and still training, So, but he is, right through my life, he's been a great male role model, a mentor. Yeah, so that in itself tells me that, somebody that's a good mentor can, and, ultimately, and a good male figure in your life can actually help you, mold you to who you are moving forward. So my earliest memory, to be honest, Alex, and it must be when I was very, very young, so 18 months, I don't know how far you go back, was seeing my dad doing, I can see it in my mind's eye now, doing push-ups. He'd made these 2 stools with red leather tops, and he was doing like really deep push-ups on them, in his vest and that, and that's my earliest memory. My dad was one of the original bodybuilders, so he was in the Health and Strength magazine. He competed at the same time as Reg Parks and all these type of people.
Wow.
He had 20-inch arms. He was an amazing. But back in the day, he didn't have trainers or anything like that. So he was training normal going out shoes. He wouldn't wear a t-shirt or anything like that because people saw him as a freak, because back in the day it was like really unique. I mean, there's millions of healthy, fit, genetic freaks out there now, isn't there? So it's part of our modern world, isn't it? But back in the day, no. So when he did his national service, and it's quite funny when you see the old photographs, the old black and white photographs, he was in the Air Force, and there wasn't a uniform in the Air Force that would fit him in the whole of the Royal Air Force. So he's there with, they're all there, and he's got like a boiler suit on. He's got like a big boiler suit. His belt on, because he's still had quite a thin waist, and a cap. That's all he's got on, and his boiler suit. So he was a bit of a. But the one thing that he did, Alex, is probably one of the first generation to actually be healthy. So God loved them. My dad talks about this all the time. So my dad grafted. So his first job was breaking cast iron in a place called Reckitt's Blue, which used to make asbestos, for God's sake. So he learned his apprenticeship on steam engines. He goes back a long time. But the one thing he did was train. He didn't know why. There was a couple of guys that trained back in Hull, lifted weights and did weight training, did bodybuilding. And he ate the right types of food. He ate salads and chickens and drank milk. They used to go to the gym and take a crate of milk and a crate of oranges. And they didn't leave the gym until they drank all the milk and eaten all the oranges.
Wow.
But the thing is that he's always eaten healthy. He's always trained hard, always. He's 85 and he's still training hard, and he's in great shape. He's beaten cancer. He's had a stroke when he was over in Australia. He beat a stroke. He beat cancer, and he's 85 and he wants to live forever, I think. So, but ultimately, he's a great example of actually the indication of eating healthy, staying fit. Does it make you live longer? Probably not genetically to some degrees, but it definitely gives you a better quality of life if you look after yourself.
That's huge
So,
as well, isn't it? Quality,
yeah. So, but I wasn't like my dad. I was. We lived. He was obviously we came from a working class family in the north of England. We lived in a pretty damp house, and I was the archetypal skinny weakling. So obviously I had his genetics, but I was a very, very sickly child. I wiped out after leaving school. I think I must have missed about 3 years of school. Through every winter, I would get bronchitis. I can remember spending countless nights trying to lay there on the settee, trying to get my breath, coughing up, phlegm and everything else. It was, I was an archetypal weakling. It was just. But the one thing I was good at was music. I was very musical. So I wanted a saxophone. Well, obviously I couldn't afford a saxophone, so they got me a clarinet. And I grew up in a really tough part of the world, mate. So what I used to do, I used to sneak my clarinet to school. So I'd put it in my satchel and sneak it to school. I'd do my music lessons, and then play with all the tough kids in the playground, and run around, chase them around and things. And, but I was very musical. So that was my God-given talent, my music. Yeah. So by the time I was 9, I could play the bugle in the scout band. So I actually won the Brighouse Band Championships when I was 9. Now the Brighouse Band Championships is the biggest marching band championships in the UK. So I could and back then there was a lot. So I can remember being in the final. It was me. I was with my bugle, and there was somebody from the Royal Marines on the drums next to me, like a soldier, and the Scots Guards here in his kilt, like these 2 big soldiers doing the drums. And then I was doing my bit, and I won it at 9. So obviously I was very talented. And the same year, I was chosen for the Yorkshire Youth Orchestra on my clarinet. So, which nobody knew about. So I was at school, sat with my mates at the back of assembly, all the scrawny kids at the back. And the music teacher came out and said, "Oh, we've got some fantastic news. One of our young kids young children has been selected for the Yorkshire Youth Orchestra." And I'm thinking, no, don't do this to me, And she said, "Oh, Carl, could you come to the front?" And all my mates looked at me, and I stood up, walked to the front. I had to play green sleeves. It's like scarred me for life. So I played this green sleeves on my clarinet with the school teacher on the piano, and my life changed in a second. My life was totally different from that moment. I got absolutely smashed every day, beaten up, bullied every day, man. Because I couldn't fight back. I was just this skinny kid. I got hammered, honestly, because I was different. And a target, like that's, bullies are weak at the end of the day, aren't they? But I was just a target, and I was a good kid. I didn't know how to fight back. And that went on for a long period of time. I turned my back on my music, which was my gift. When I got to 14, I think my dad must have thought, "God, I'm going to have to do something with this kid. It's so skinny, going to take him to the gym." So he took me to a gym called Arthur Street. Arthur Street is like one of the original gyms, Alex. It's not like a CrossFit gym, mate. This was old school. Wow. Old school, mate. It was brilliant. Old school's the real school, isn't it? This was brilliant, And I remember going in there, and he gave me 2 exercises to do. He gave me squats, back squats, and pullovers. He said, "Look, son, if you do back squats and pullovers as a superset, it's the best combination, So obviously with pullovers, because I had like a pigeon chest, it was all kid, I was so skinny. So I used to do superset with pullovers and back squats and bench press. And I can remember my first bench press. I think it was for like 40 pounds or something, which was, to be honest, for me at 14, I thought, well, that's quite good, my squats was quite good. But obviously my genetics for strength was in there, even though I was skinny. And within about 2 months, my asthma, my bronchitis, my health, that all gone.
Wow.
Completely gone. So I thought, well, there's got to be something in this. So I continued to train. By the time I was 16, I was the North of England under-21 powerlifting and Olympic lifting champion at 16. So I was still skinny, but I was really, really strong. I got a photograph of myself at 16, front squatting, 275 pounds, you know, with an old bar with all these little weights on it, you know, at 16, right down, you know. So, and I was skinny, so I was very strong, you know, naturally strong. But and that was it. Changed my life. I got into strength training, and which eventually got me into throwing, which eventually got me into coaching. So it's, you know, things are meant for a reason, Alex, is what we've spoken about before. You know, the bullying, the adversity changes the direction in life, which eventually leads to something, I think, what you're supposed to do, your purpose in life. Yeah.
It's really interesting, isn't it, when I look at that? I've got a few different mantras, but one of them I tell myself is, this has already been written in history. All I need to do is go and experience it. And it's hard because I don't want to take away people's personal power and their destiny, and also from a relaxed point of view to go, oh, this is written anyway, and it's already done, and you just assume it. But it's really funny how life finds you. I find that as well, isn't it? It really does, whether it's a higher version of yourself or something. Because everything you're telling me there, Jenno, and then we can go through and share, obviously, the accolades of what you've done with professional sport, although that seems to be just a portion and maybe not even as important now from some of the things you've already shared, but it all plays a role. But all I'm thinking the whole time is, man, what's driving this guy? The question I asked myself, the question I asked the dads I work with, like, what drives you? What was driving you as a young boy to get in and then become so gifted and work so hard with music classes to the point where you're literally hiding, you know, your clarinet so you could actually do it, and then turning around and lifting weights? 125 kilos, that's a lot for a 16-year-old, the front squat. I'm pretty sure that's what it converts to in pounds.
Yeah.
So, that's huge for a front squat.
It was. But, you know, like my bench pressing was pretty good. So that was always my thing, bench pressing. So I benched 180 kilos, 182 kilos the first time when I was 18.
Wow.
And my first, because my dad used to say my personal best, Carl, you never beat my personal best. And his personal best was 440 pounds. So my first, you know, obviously my first, 180 kilos, 400 pounds. And I still don't believe it to this day, mate. It's like unbelievable. Right? So I did my first 400 pound bench press when I was 18, and I did my first 500 pound bench press when I was 20.
Wow.
That's raw, mate. That's raw. That's not with all these daft straps on your hands and all that rubbish. That's just like me in a pair of shorts, t-shirt, pushing out a bloody bar, you know. Incredible. And my personal best was at 21 at a bench press 547 pounds. Yeah, which is ridiculous, you know. So look, the drive, you talk about drive. I don't know. I think I've always been a little bit crazy. I don't know. I'm a really proud overachiever, Alex. You know, I did very little schooling back in the day. You know, I got educated through life. You know, and I was very lucky to get the role that I got in sport, because when I got my role as strength coaches in sports, there weren't strength coaches. There wasn't guys going to university and get degrees in strength training or that. It just wasn't happening. So I was like, you know, before all that started, it was about the art of strength and conditioning rather than the science. The thing that's driven me, I don't know. Actually, most people my age are probably thinking about retiring. You know, I believe that my greatest achievements are yet to come, and I truly, truly believe that. You know, do I feel like I've achieved a lot in life? I don't know. On paper, I have, and when I think about the times and the experiences I have, they are pretty epic. You know, I live life on the epic scale, but did I take that for granted? I don't think I did, but it was just what I did. You know, it's just what I did, and it's the drive. I don't know. I'm emotionally driven, as you know, Alex. I was always very emotional about my drive was an emotional thing. What I learned from true high performance was to actually achieve a lot in life, you have to be process driven, and you've got to actually control the state, you know, your state of mind, or the actual state that you're in. But the drive, everyone's different, Alex. The one thing that I do work with a lot of my young aspiring athletes, I have athletes, all different abilities. I have some young people that are going to be the best in the world. I got a couple of my racing car drivers that are the best in the world. One of them in particular. So I often talk to them about actually front loading their destiny. So you spoke about, is it our destiny? Is it all meant to be? And whatever we do always go down a certain path? Well, I think we do to some degree, because our paths are actually driven by our behaviours, and life changes the way that we behave. That's that summation of forces that's pushing us forward. But I teach young athletes, to actually front load their destiny, and it's quite an uncomplicated thing to do. The process is quite long and that I go through with them, but ultimately it comes down to actually them thinking about where they want to be at 25. It's the same person, different life experiences, obviously, and how, if that person does actually get to the top. So say, for instance, for you, Alex, the man you are now is different to the young man I knew. That's the same person, isn't it? Yeah, same person, but different. The thing that's different is that experiences and education has changed your behaviours. So if you wrote down the behaviours of your day now, the Alex that you are now, that list would be, articulate, hardworking, attention to detail, yeah, inquisitive, these type of things. So it's quite simple. If you could take those behaviors, those traits that you have now, and if you could take those back and you lived by those traits when you were 17, you would you be a different person? No, but would you have got to where you are quicker? Probably yes. So for me, it's about behavior all the time. So I coach behavior. Super 6, yeah. Parents bring the kids because they want the kids to be better athletes, faster, fitter, better soccer players, better rugby league players. But, they realise pretty quickly that that's all secondary. That's all secondary. Don't worry about that. We're going to coach their behaviour first. And that's why it's called Super 6. It's the six behaviours that I know that have been crucial in all the great athletes that I've coached. So again, the thing that drives me, I don't know, man. Something's pushing you forward. I don't know what it is.
It's awesome how you explain that though, Jenno. And the Super 6, I mean, I love to know what they are, but also I think it's pretty clear to see that memory of your father doing push-ups, which is why I love what we do as dads. There's nothing against women and mothers. They play a huge role in their leaders in their own right. But as fathers, it's something that primarily we connect to, and that seeing that, you wouldn't even have to think about it. It just becomes something in the back of the brain of that's the standard that you, like my girls seeing the gym. It's a gym. Give me the rings. I'm ready to. Yeah, it's amazing.
It is. And what you see, what you're taking for granted is that your girls have a male mentor in their lives. See, a lot of families don't have that. So within my program, I have a lot of young lads in particular that come from broken homes or from traumatic backgrounds. So they're in emergency intervention. So the only male influence they've had in a lot of respects, especially in those traumatic upbringings, is a male mentor that isn't necessarily the best influence, or actually even inflicts pain onto them. So when they turn up in a lot, Ricky, they're not used to having a male influence in their life that's positive. And me, Alex, I'm pretty positive. So the power of being a good male influence and mentoring as a male is so powerful. It's so powerful because these kids come in, maybe the carer or the mum can't really control the young man because he needs a male role model in his life that can give fair discipline, give good direction, fair but fair, give really positive feedback, not negative, but really positive feedback, because it takes as much energy to be positive as it does to be negative, But I'm telling you, being negative takes more out of you than being positive. You know all about this. And for a young person to get that positive reinforcement is so, so, so powerful. So the one thing that I think is a really important thing that you'll understand, Alex, as an elite athlete, is changing the state of mind. So look, as an athlete, there's 3 states of mind. There's calm, optimum, and peak. And for a person a normal dad out there that's working really hard, having to like obviously support his family. There's a lot of pressure on that individual, you know. So, but whether it's there has to be a time that you're calm, and the most powerful time to be calm, and it doesn't matter what shit's going on in your day. Yeah, get in the car, and while you're driving home, breathe, get calm, and don't share the problems. Don't offload your problems when you first walk through the door. Be calm. Just give 5-10 minutes of that calm soul to your kids, to your wife. Yeah, tell them that you love them. Yeah, just actually be calm for a while. It's a hard thing to do. But athletes learn about transition. You know, you did that. An athlete, you know, you play your first half, you're 20 points behind, you walk off. You got to get calm and change it. You got to listen to what you need to do. You got to have a transition, and you got to go out and try and solve the problem. Don't solve the problem or you solve it after the game. You got to get calm again. There's got to be transition in your life. Some people struggle with having the ability to act, the awareness, and you understand about awareness, Alex, is, you know, because you're such a powerful force within the family unit, your responsibility is so powerful because you're going to influence everybody around you. If you take your problems into that, you know, first impressions last for a lifetime, as soon as you walk through that door, you know, has such a negative influence on the whole family unit, and it'll make you feel worse. If you actually just calm, go home, just 10 minutes, that's all it takes. Just 10 minutes, even if you're feeling like shit, just to give them kids what they want. They don't care what their dad does. They just love the dad, you know? So the dad just needs to just give them a little bit of time and go in the shower, have your meal, you know, and then look after yourself. Because I know you're a great believer in that, Alex, about helping dads look after themselves first. But being a positive role model is such a powerful thing, because if you're not, it has a massive influence on the family, a massive influence on the whole family. Yeah, it's
incredible. And transitions, that's a big thing I got from that as well. Like there's so many, isn't there, in life? And one of the big ones, like when I come home to my children, like I'm entering their environment. Doesn't matter that the house is in my name or I'm paying the bills. I'm entering a preoccupied environment.
Yeah.
Who am I to go in there blowing off steam or being a fucking tool without checking myself first and just having that level of calm? And like that's hugely important, and something that's probably very underrated, or maybe like you said, they're not aware. Like,
you know what it is, Alex? It's actually your state is, and this is high performance sport again. Does high performance sport have an influence on normal day life? Well, of course it fucking does, because the amount of money that's been pumped into high performance sport is ridiculous. So if you look at a nation that's bidding for the Olympics and they get it, and then they're going to spend trillions of dollars to build stadiums. Yeah, and then they want to win gold medals. So believe me, for every dollar that's spent on the stadium, there's a dollar spent in a sports science lab trying to find a way for their athletes to win. You know, so there's huge amount of resources gone into this type of stuff. And it's very powerful. So we know in high performance that the greatest influence on performance is the state that the athlete's in. You know, they're in complete control of their internal environment, which ultimately obviously affects their external environment. So state, there's actually an equation that goes with state. This isn't something I've read in the book, Alex. So this is a bit of like, you know, straight out the old noggin. Yeah. So it's basically, to be in a really good state, it's just physical energy and at times emotional focus. So physical energy times emotional focus over clarity and connection equals state. So for instance, you understand this as an athlete. I've said that 20 times so far. So going into a performance, if your physical energy and your emotional focus is on, and then you're surrounded by clarity and connection with your teammates, you're going to go and win. Yeah. So you go into a game, you know, and your physical energy is low and your focus isn't necessarily there. You know, there's no real clarity in what you need to do, and there's definitely no connection. You got no hope in hell. It doesn't matter what type of athlete you are or what type of individual. Now, how does that relate to the normal dad in the street? So look, physical energy, you know, being healthy and looking after yourself is so important. And as you know, the balance between physical energy and emotional focus is linked 100%. You know, I'm sure there's some papers written out there about it, but we know, Alex, we know that stuff, don't we? We know it. It's a reality. Yeah, it's not about going to the doctors and get some tablets for feeling good. That sort of shit. We know that. This is about being healthy. It's about physical energy, which creates emotional focus. And if you're really clear on the role that you play in the world, you know, and you have true connection with your family, how good does that feel? How good does that feel? Now, I'm telling you, if you're unhealthy and you haven't got focus, you're not clear on your role in life or what you really want to do, you know, there's very little connection, and connection's very important. It's about communication, isn't it? It's about communication. So if there's no connection, it goes to shit. And I don't care what scenario is involved. We're all human beings. I don't care what role you play in life, what job you have, what type of career you're doing. If there's no physical energy, emotional focus is not there. You're not clear of your role, or there's no connection with the people around you, you ain't going to perform. And a dad's role in a family is to lead that family. I know we live in an equal rights society and everything else, but reality is, you know, there's a bit of pressure involved in that. I feel that every day, Alex. You know, they pulled my roller door on my gym down 4 weeks ago, just as the business was flying. You know, what do? I got to get some money. You know, I got to go find some money. And, you know, I've thought outside the box. I put it all online now, and it's going great, which is fine. But your state as an individual is the most important thing. Now, is it your responsibility to actually learn about that for you so you can actually impact other people in your life? Well, of course it is. But I'm telling you, if you can actually learn how to be in a good state on a 80-20, the old 80-20 rule there, Alex, you'll feel more fulfilled. You know, you'll be a happier person. You know, you'll affect people around you in a much positive way. And you got to remember that your kids are watching every second of the day when they're with you, because you're their role model. You're their hero. You know, whether or not you want to believe that or not, that's how kids look up to their parents, don't they? And the father figure in their life. So the state is such a powerful thing.
Yeah, it's an incredible equation. I love it, mate. And I'm seeing a similar pattern as well. It seems like, well, because I'm emotionally driven as well, what you were speaking about earlier, and you said you looked at harnessing that, but then dialing that into being process driven.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing a lot, even with that 4 million on state, is I say facts and feelings. The feelings that can drive us and put the energy in there, but then what are the clear indicators? Like we said, clarity, connection, how we're connected, is it through communication? And it seems like that's like almost that yin yang, or that balance that's necessary. But too often we either have one, or a lot of fathers, when I'm processing this now, would have none. They don't have any physical health. They don't even know how to communicate. So they're never calm. They're always triggered, or at a state of peak when they're not supposed to be. And imagine that on a chronic level.
Yeah.
Decades.
Yeah, but imagine how quickly you can change things around, because I can tell you your state of mind can change in a second, Alex. So we're sat here talking really calm right now, and a tiger jumps through that window. Your state of mind changes in 1 second. Yeah, you leave it. No, you'd wrestle it.
Clean it, jerky.
Yeah, you would. You'd wrestle it. You know, but so ultimately, through a reaction, yeah, we can change our state of mind. Yeah, an external trigger. I know you talk about that a lot. Yeah, but if we understand how to control that, that is so powerful, because we have a choice. Choices can be made. You know, people that come out with I can't do this, can't. Avoidance and excuses isn't high performance. Yeah, everybody has a choice. Most people know what the difference is between right and wrong. Yeah, if there's no grey area. It's either right or it's wrong. I was taught that from an amazing gear steward at Bradford Bulls, Fred Robinson, God rest his soul. What an amazing man he was. You know, he said, look, son, it's either right or it's wrong, son. There's no in between. You know, and he's taught, through all these years, I've realised that. So we all know what's right or wrong, and everybody can make a choice. You know, so if you know what's right and wrong, and you've got the ability to make a choice, make the fucking right one for your family. Just do it. Don't fucking talk about it. Just do the right thing. You know, and people say, it's easy to say that, but I'm under all this pressure. No, breathe. Get calm. Just get calm, breathe through your nose. We all know what the breathing techniques are, Alex. You know, it's common knowledge now, you know. So breathe, get calm. You know what's right. You know what your kids need. Just go and do it. Just for 10 minutes. Just be the person that you deserve to be. You know, everybody deserves to have those type of things in their life, but we're in charge of. Everybody's in charge of their own destiny. You know, there's a lot of people. We live in a bit of a soft environment these days, don't we? You know, we know that. You know, it's and I know that the majority of my young athletes don't live in the ghetto. Yeah, the greatest boxers live in the Bronx. We know that. Yeah, so you know, if you don't live in the ghetto, you've got to train. You got to train in the ghetto. You know, and it's adversity breeds strength. If you want to squat 300 kilo, you got to work at it. You know that. You got to go and train. You got to train your body and your mind to get into that bar. It may take you 3 years, yeah, and you're going to go through a lot of pain along the way. But you understand that for me to squat 300 kilos, I got to train. So look, to actually control your state of mind, you got to work at it. You got to do processes. And I was taught this. So when I came back and started doing my business, went through a really bad time, Alex. I felt in my own mind that it was the right thing to do. I had this given a second chance in life to give back and all that. And but being involved with team sports for 20 years, overnight I lost all my mates. And I got that lonely. I was just so lonely. I got pretty low, Alex. I got very, very low. You know, I contemplated a few things, you know, but ultimately what it was, a great friend and mentor of mine, which is Matt Elliott, he said to me, he said, look, Carl, you know, on the way home in your car, don't think about all the negative things. Just think about all the amazing things you've achieved in your life. Think about all the amazing things that you're doing or you're trying to do. And focus on all those amazing things. Just 15 minutes going to work and 15 minutes going home. Spend the rest of the day worrying about shit, but just train. Just train. Train to think positively. And initially, when you're in that really bad mindset, you're thinking, "What a crock of shit!" You're just talking about, man, you're crazy, you know. And you know what? I treat it like a training routine. 15 minutes training. I would sit in the car and I think about, oh, yeah, life's great, you know, live in this amazing country. I got amazing family, you know, I am making a difference, you know, I got family that supported me all these years, you know, the sun's out, anything I could think about, I just thought about how amazing that was, just for 15 minutes training in the car to and from work. I'm telling you, within a few months, it wasn't overnight, within a few months of that simple process, yeah, that process again, simple process. So SMAC behaviors, talk a lot about SMAC behaviors. To actually make change, we don't like change, humans don't like it, but to actually create change, you've got to create what I call a SMAC behavior. People know about SMAC behaviors, which is a systematic, methodical, and consistent thing, and eventually it changes behavior. So that little 15 minutes in the car every day to and from work, very simple process, but it was a system. Yeah, it was a system. I was methodical and consistent with it, and it changed the way that I thought completely. You know, over time. I was just training it. It was a simple thing to do, but I was just consistent. Yeah. So and it works. So look, ultimately you got to work at it, but you just need to have a process that you believe in. You know, you've got that clarity and connection with that process. Yeah. And that eventually will change the state of mind.
Powerful, mate. Yeah, that's something that I feel almost saved me, even in my younger years when I started to shift the weight from being overweight and getting into sport, and then all the different adversities of life, family, relationships, business. Just always naturally optimistic and positive. And I'm like, I even say to the dads I work with, I'm like, well, fuck, what's the alternative? Where's that going to get you? All right, so I'm pulling away, I'm becoming less, thinking worse. It's going to take me even longer to get back to where I was before, and I'm losing time in the process. It doesn't make sense to me, but the overruling principle seems like if this is an energy and frequency you put out there, like you said, it's a behavior and a process, but then it just becomes you.
Yeah, you. So, Alex, just sit back and just point to yourself and say, Jenno, this is me. Get assertive with me. Point to yourself and say, Jenno, this is me.
Jenno, this is me.
Do it again. Do it again. Point to yourself.
Me.
Point to yourself.
This is me.
Where are you pointing?
To myself.
Yeah.
My heart.
Yeah. Now, where do the majority of people live? In the fucking heads, mate. to live in here. The brain is just a processor. It's hot, it's cold, it's good, it's bad. It's just a process. This isn't who you are. This isn't who you are. It's just this is who you are. Yeah. Now I've asked that many people to do that from being 8 years old to world champions, and they always took to chest. And then when you actually talk to the best athletes in the world, because ultimately I've worked with quite a lot of those, and when I asked them, when you did your best ever performance, what was you thinking about? You tell me the answer, Alex. So when you played your best ever game, or when you had your greatest performance in CrossFit, what was you thinking about in that moment?
One, I can't remember, but two, I think it's because it was nothing. I was just feeling.
Correct. You don't think about anything, which is, you know. So look. So when you're at your best, if you're not thinking about anything, when you're at your worst, you're fucking constant. Your head's busy.
Yeah.
Don't trust your brain, mate. Trust your heart. So the thing is, with all the dads out there, they gotta get out of here, and they gotta get into here. So look, when you fall in love, you get butterflies right in your belly. You don't get a fucking headache, do you? You get butterflies in here, don't you?
It comes later.
You know, there's gurus out there that say this is what they call the lower keely, your soul. This is where your soul resides. When you hear some really, really bad news, you know, there's a lot of people in the world right now hearing really, really bad news. You get that sinking feeling, yeah, in here, in your gut, like you're being just punched in the guts, yeah. You know, this is who you are, Alex. So look, to be, you know, without getting too spooky, because you know the real Jenno, don't you? Know the Jenno, the Viking, we can scream and shout. You know, so this might be hard for you to like, what's going on, Jenno? What's happening here? But look, it's about getting in touch with who you actually are. This is your image. This is where it resides, mate. It's where your image resides. Yeah. This is where your identity is about. This is where it resides. This is who you are. This is who you think you should be. Yeah. So look, it's the ability to actually get in touch with who you actually are, to do the right thing. It's a really powerful thing. So the more you think, the worse you get. The majority of people on this planet, in the Western world, let's talk about the Western world, live in myth. They're fucking dead set, live in myth. The worry about what happened yesterday don't fucking exist anymore, mate. It literally doesn't exist. It was yesterday. In the energy of the universe, doesn't fucking exist. So they spend a lot of the time worrying about what happened yesterday, and then they spend the rest of the time worrying about what's going to happen next week or tomorrow, yeah? Or the bills they've got to pay, or the job they've got to get. Doesn't fucking exist, man. Hasn't happened yet. Doesn't exist. So the majority of energy and the majority of your existence is living in a complete and utter fucking fantasy world that does not exist. Yeah. The great strength is to actually be present. You felt that feeling that you had, Alex, when you was at your best. You was present, mate. You was clear, and it was you. Yeah, the big Viking was just going to tear this apart. Physical energy was good. Emotional focus was good. You was clear, connected, clear here, connected. Shit happens. Good stuff happens. So the thing, one of the processes, this is why meditation is so powerful for athletes, is again, it teaches them how to deal with pressure. The more pressure there is, the more you think. So all you've got to do is stop thinking. You know, if you're at work, you're feeling stressed out, your boss is a dickhead, you know, you got bills to pay. Well, no, breathe. Where are you right now? How, you know, just let's get back to who you are. Let's get back to your identity, not your image, but your identity. This is who I am. Yeah, I feel good about myself. Yeah, this is good. Yesterday doesn't exist. It literally doesn't fucking exist. Tomorrow hasn't happened yet. Get in the moment. Now, you know, Alex, the greatest rugby league players, people like Darren Lockyer, he just was in the moment. Jonathan Thurston, in the moment. Even in them big games when you're surrounded, like the State of Origin games or test matches, because when I was with Great Britain, we used to coach against Australia, much better team, but somehow we had to come up with a game plan to win. And we knew exactly what Darren Lockyer's plays were on the edge. He had a hook line, he had a flat pass, he had an inside ball to flicking Minicello back in the day, dead set, last 5 minutes of a test match. He would always put it on. Did we know that was coming? Of course we did. But under extreme pressure, he was clear, knew what he had to do. Inside ball to Minicello under the sticks to win in the last 5 minutes. Did that many times against Great Britain. Yeah? Simple play, executed perfectly without thinking about it. So having a clear mind and being conscious of that you need to have a clear mind. And the more you're thinking, you've got to go, hang on, I'm under pressure here. I'm thinking too much. I've just got to breathe. Just 3 breaths. Get clear. Yeah, I can deal with this now. I can deal with this. So it's a powerful thing. Awareness, and you understand about awareness, Alex, is a powerful thing. Once you have awareness how amazing that information is, you've actually already beaten it. You've got it. Yeah, you're aware of it. So now it's a reality. Yeah. Before I spoke about living in myth or living in the moment, there'll be some dads out there thinking, fuck yeah, you fucking hell. Yeah, job done. Game over. Because that's really powerful stuff. Because I lived like that for years until I realized, hang on a minute, I got to start living. I got to start living in the now, appreciating what I've got right now. Yeah, it's such a powerful thing.
And you can't even have awareness if you're in the past or future, are you? It's just fantasy or previous. It couldn't exist, awareness in the past. You know, like if you're living in the past, how could it? Because you're not now.
Well, the only place that exists is in your head, not anybody else's head. It's just in your head. And what happens is you carry those myth thoughts around with you, and then you impart them on other people. You walk through your front door, and all that myth, then you're whacking out your wife. Well, yeah, but what about this and what about that? It don't fucking exist. And then you impart it onto them, and they're thinking about it, and your kids are thinking about it. And it doesn't actually exist. What exists is these beautiful people, in a lot of respect, that you've created in this world that need you to be present right now. Yeah, and the easiest way to do that is just to breathe and clear your mind and appreciate what you've got. Because right now in the world, it doesn't matter if you're the leader of the UK or a billionaire or a pauper. Everyone's getting a disease, aren't they? They're all getting it. It's, so it doesn't. The only thing that really matters is family connection, who you are, and trying to help each other through it. They've become really, really powerful in the last few months. And there's more people doing that now than there used to be, I think. I think people are actually getting more connected now.
You're right, mate. Well, anyone can do it. That's what I was going to say.
It's just a choice, Alex. You just make a choice in life to do it. The greatest legacy that you can leave as a human being is having a positive influence on other people. There's no you can't live forever, but there is actually a way that you can be immortal, is by actually passing on your legacy through other people, that they can pass on in other people as they move through their life. With young people in particular. So with a young person, if you can truly, I believe if you can change one young person's life for the positive, they'll go through their life and they'll affect lots of people in their life. So you probably affect 100 people in a lifetime in a positive way. Now, if you can change 10 young people's lives in a positive way, they'll go on and they'll change thousands of people's lives in their life. If you can change 1,000 young people's lives in a positive way, change the way they think for the positive, they can change the world, man. That's what I truly, truly, truly believe, Alex. And maybe that's why I came out that fire when I shouldn't have done. And with you, you've got to understand how powerful your role as a mentor is in other people's lives, because it has an effect. It's a butterfly effect, isn't it? And all the dads out there, the effect that they can have on their family has such a powerful influence for the next generation and even generations to come. It's a really powerful role to have in life, and it's something that we shouldn't really take for granted at all.
Yeah, that's to me what I believe is eternal life. Like the body's become dust, but the values, principles, mannerisms, what we can pass on, it actually does exist in others. But as humans, we've got such a almost one-dimensional way of thinking that it's just the senses.
You said it, thinking that, You said it.
Exactly. You think
You'll stop thinking, Alex. You'll stop thinking.
Yeah.
I know you're an educated man, you know, and which is fantastic. Not thinking isn't about becoming educated. The reason why that elite athlete can execute a skill without thinking is because he's practiced it 10,000 times. Yeah. So look, you have to practice. You have to think at certain times. So all the knowledge that you've learned and studied, that's there. That's there in a positive way, to be used in a positive way. But for you to execute at your best, it's to get calm and clear, and then just speak from the heart, or speak from who you are. You know that one. This is me, Jenno. Yeah? Who you are. You know. So it's a powerful thing, Alex. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what I love, mate. I mean, we've got like two men that your background, what you've been raised with, and your accolades, which we'll have to do on another episode, mate, and dive into some of the elite sports stuff. We will absolutely touch on them though. But we've got two men here. We can be the big fucking tough man. We can beat our chest. We can do all that sort of shit. But the reality is, when you can combine a level of temperament through state, what you said, and combine the science and the spirit from men who can be the big fucking warriors, it's the voice that's needed, mate. I'm not, and it's no disrespect, I'm not some little skinny dude who hasn't lived or gone through hardships of life, and I'm trying to get men to be in touch with their feelings. No, these are men, in you and me, and there are others, but as leaders who can be this big fucking hard man, but it's a matter of choices and going, hey, you know what? These are ways that you can connect with yourself, and this is what you can do moving forward. Because men have never had this before, Jenno. Not. Maybe ancient tribes have, and we've lost that, right? But in the modern,
Spartans did, the Vikings did.
Yeah, but in the modern world, you like the last 100, maybe 150 years, it's the Western world anyway, suppressing male emotion, toughen up, don't cry, be a fucking man. Like it's the whole wrong play, which ultimately has led to, which is maybe for another day, extremities of feminism and demonizing masculinity. It's not necessarily the case. And
well, look at one of the greatest boxing coaches in history, Cus D'Amato, who was Mike Tyson's coach, and he died. That's one of the reasons Mike Tyson went off the rails. But there's an amazing book, and if you're into reading, you need to actually get it. I think it's called Kings of the World, and it's the era of Ali. I got my brain. I'm getting too old. It's I've got the book in my bookcase. I'll talk to you about it. It's called Kings of the World, but it's about, so Cus D'Amato, he was a fatalist. So when he was a boy in the Bronx, he pinched an apple, got into a fight. He had his eye poked out with a stick. So he believed from a young age that because he had an apple, he lost an eye. So he believed that he would never have possessions. So even though Cus D'Amato probably coached the world's greatest boxers over a long period of time, 5 of the legends of the sport, he lived in the same one-bedroomed flat with his wife in the Bronx his whole life. And he's an amazing man. And so look, he used to choose. So in these areas, you can imagine there's really, really tough people, going back to the 30s, 40s and 50s. Really tough people walking the streets, back in the day in New York. He would choose the crybabies. He would choose the kids that would lose a fight and would cry. He would look in the street and he would get them, because he believed that a crybaby, or people perceived as a kid that would cry, had emotions and would use those emotions. But that was just his way of doing it. So when you actually go through all these great, these are legends of boxing, including Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson used to cry. That's why he chose Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson used to cry before his fights when he was younger, because he was scared. Dead set shit, scared shitless. He won the world title at 18, so he was fighting men when he was 17, 16, 17, 18. So he was scared, but he used to use that fear and channel it to be an unbelievable athlete. And that goes back to all the champions. So losing touch with who you are and your emotions is a really, really negative thing on men. And again, it's losing in touch with this, and putting it here. Tough blokes don't talk, tough blokes don't cry. What a lot of shit. That's myth, isn't it? That's myth. it's about getting who you are. It's your identity. You're a human being. You got emotions. You got hormones that are going on. It's normal to feel down. It's normal to feel sad. It's also normal to feel happy. But if you're telling yourself all the time you're not supposed to feel like this is shit. What's the matter with you? Christ, you're thinking too much again, aren't you? You're creating this state of mind that's like a really negative, giving yourself negative feedback. Yeah, so a lot of people get into that cycle of thinking. It's just, and again, it's this thing taking over. Don't trust what's going on up here. Don't trust it. Trust how you're feeling. Yeah, because it's such a powerful thing, and we've lost touch. A lot of modern men have lost touch with how they're supposed to feel. Yeah, and as you know, some of the greatest warriors that I've coached. I'm talking about you know these people. You know you bled and sweat with these people. Off the footy pitch, they are the most gentlest human beings on the planet. Ruben Wiki, dead set. What an amazing human being and father. Yeah. So let's go through them. Best people I've ever met. Alex Ranieri. Oh no, sorry. Yeah. So look, Ruben Wiki, absolute legend and warrior. He had the lowest tackle count in the Canberra Raiders team. Because nobody would run his way. The tackle count was on the other side of the field because he was going to break you. They'd run the other way. In a tough game, that's a good stat to have, yeah. So, look, he's the most amazing human being off the field. Petro Sivanasiva, the most amazing family man off the field. Luke Lewis, you know how tough Louis is? The most amazing father off the field. And you can go through it. You can go through all the truly tough men. Not that's talking tough game, but, in them moments come up with the tough player. The majority of them, there's always an exception to the rule, but the majority of them type of people are really consistent with them standards and behaviours off the field, and they're good people. Can you look back at your life and think, I haven't been the best person here, I don't feel good about myself? Well, make a choice. You know the difference between right and wrong. Become a good person, become a good role model, make a difference in the world. It's just a choice, and that choice can be changed in a second. Yeah, totally changed in a second.
It's what makes life, isn't it, mate? Series of choices.
Yeah, it is.
We're all teachers, and through choices, showing a glimpse of what will happen if you do the same thing, or if you don't, and you turn it around and change it. But mate, just as we wrap up, Jenno, because we'll definitely do another episode, mate. You got some amazing. I mean, we'll go through your accolades, but it's interesting. What was the nature like with these All Black players? Like, they are just monsters. They do the haka and all this. And did they have that? Like, did you apply this same stuff through with your elite athletes as well over the years?
Well, look, if you actually look at the Crusaders' sporting history, it's probably the most successful rugby union franchise in the world. The actual All Blacks culture is the Crusader culture. That's the modern All Blacks culture is the Crusader culture. The Crusader, listen to this, for a sporting team, a franchise, I think it's something like 75% of Crusader players become All Blacks. Now, just imagine if 75% of all Panthers players played for either Australia or the Kiwis. It's unheard of. So the culture is quite amazing. I'd read a few things about it. But again, destiny took me there. I didn't really choose to go there. Destiny took me there. Their point of difference, the Crusaders, their point of difference is that they believe they have to constantly evolve, and they're always looking for a point of difference. So to be the very best at something, you have to have a point of difference. Their point of difference that year, after the earthquakes, probably nobody else wanted to go there, to be honest. Maybe it's just me trying to big note myself. No, nobody else wanted to go work in Christchurch. Maybe Mad Jenno was the only person that wanted to go. But look, their point of difference, and they told me this, they wanted to get league fit. They knew the game was evolving at the time. They knew that the defensive structures in the league needed to be brought into rugby union at the highest level. They understood that getting some shape around the halfbacks, or the ball players within the game had to change. They took quite a lot from me. I was assuming that it was going to be physical development. It was actually all the other bits and pieces that I knew about the game. You know, it was quite interesting how they actually put all that together. But the most amazing thing was their culture. Now, and you can read about all this stuff, the All Blacks culture and everything. Ultimately, it's a high performance, it's a winning culture. It's a winning culture. The expectation, scrutiny, and consequence, which is high performance, is very, very high. So the expectations on you as an individual is probably the most important things that you have to have. And without these, you just got to walk out the door again. And you have to have courage and character. That's it. That's it. But you have to have courage and character. Courage. So where does courage and character come from? Alex, you tell me.
Not the head.
Hear that?
Yeah, from the
Come
heart.
from hear that.
Mm.
Courage and character is who you are as a man. Yeah. The rest of the stuff. So if you've got true courage and character, you can do anything. If you've got the character to actually put your head where nobody else wants to put it. If you've got the character to run an extra 10 hills when everyone else is falling over. If you've got the courage of your convictions, you can achieve anything in life. So that's when I started to learn about how powerful behavior was in high performance. But the other thing that I realized about that amazing environment was the fact that it was just an all the time thing. And the expectations on you as a coach was really, really high, because their point of difference as an athlete is that they're independent thinking. So in modern sport, and I've made this mistake myself. So at the start of my career, right at the start, 20 odd years ago, it was all about the art of strength and conditioning. And then it got into the science of strength and conditioning. We thought, well, to be professional, you've got to give all the squad kits and boots. Oh no, they don't work anymore. The full-time athletes. Full-time athletes. Oh no, we'll feed you. Yeah, we'll educate you. Yeah, here's your game plan. You don't even have to fucking think anymore. Yeah, this is your role. So they lose the ability to make decisions under pressure. It's a skill that's taken away from them. You know, you get a back, and I've been involved with systems, you know, which is all about structure. So you get a young back row that's got these amazing offloads, and he can kick. He can kick. Yeah, he can kick. You got a grub. Oh, you don't do that, son. Your job's to run a good line. That's it. Kick the ball again. You're not making the team. You know, so in actual fact, you start de-coaching, and the athletes stop thinking for themselves. So the real point of difference with that culture is they actually develop independent thinking athletes from day one. So they have a process to that within coaching. So for me, there was 3 types of development for an athlete. There was learning to train. Obviously, learning to train is that first stage where you're learning about your body and you're learning about technique. I suppose a lot of your dads are in that learning to train stage. And then there's training to train. So training to train is where you've learned the basics and you're training. Yeah, you can self-manage a little bit. And then there's training to compete. Now, I thought that was the optimum. I thought the highest level was training to compete. And, you know, I went through a period, especially out of Canberra, when there was just developing small-sided games from the AIS. So Canberra Raiders was probably the first team to do all that stuff. Small-sided games and that, you know, competing. So, you know, building a competitive element in training, a competitive element in the gym. How good's that? You're developing competitive animals. They're going to go out there and compete. Yeah, they can compete. But can they win? So I actually found out when I was at the Crusaders with all these 15 All Blacks that they trained to win. So a training to compete athlete would be somebody along the lines of, you know, so you could be the very best. You know, wrestling's on today, and you've been part of some of those wrestling sessions, Alex. So, and you know, it's on. You're going to compete. There's another front row that you're going to wrestle again, and you're going to wrestle him, and you turn up, and it's on. You know, you leave a bit of skin in the ring. You know, a bit of blood, a bit of sweat. But a training to win athlete, he knows next week on Wednesday there's a wrestling session on. So he starts preparing for that session, making sure he sleeps, making sure he's eating well, making sure he's stretching for that session because he wants to win it. Yeah. Now that's the mentality. So when people talk about this, you know, spooky culture, what's going on with the All Blacks, they are 24/7 winning at everything. It's a cult. You know, we call cult's just a short name for culture. So we can cope with the word culture, can't we? People start saying cult. It's like, hey, whoa, what's going on? Yeah. But they're quite happy to call it a cult because they're dead set that everybody's on. Everybody's on. So look, I used to I used to feel like I would have to create an event. Every session for me, and you'd be part of those, Alex, I would try and think of create an event. I'd come on board, I'd write some Vikings saying on there or something, and it'd be on one. Everyone's training, and I'd be out there ranting and raving, and you know, trying to motivate the group. That's how I was. I had to go quiet and calm at the Crusaders because the motivation came from the other side. It came the other way. I was the one that was under pressure. I would come up with the best ever training session because after the pump, I'd be going home and working it out to the finest detail because I knew I was going to deliver it to men that knew as much as me, if not more. Yeah, and I was dead set under the pump all the time to deliver because that's what they expected. They wanted the best all the time, and if it wasn't good enough, they'd remind you of it. On the train hard, it seemed like a great session. Then one or two of them, you know, Richie McCoy walked past, oh, Jenno, make sure you prepare better for tomorrow. Boom. Holy shit. You know, what the hell? You know, and guess what you do the next day, Alex? Hey,
prepare.
It's their expectation. They're there to win, man. They're there to win. They want the best, not like 360 days of the year. They want the best 365 days of the year, 24/7. So when you go on tour and things like that with them, then the kit man, dead set, the first game, and I'd read about this about the All Blacks cleaning the change rooms and everything else. First game for the Crusaders after the earthquake, so we had this temporary stadium with some demountables as changing rooms. Johnny the kit man, great fella, as all kit men are, as you know. So after the game, we played the Highlanders, we beat the Highlanders. And we came back, and I was stood there, and Johnny's there like this in the corner. You know what a changing room's like? It's got strapping tape everywhere, the cups. Place is a shit fight, you know. Anyhow, and even at the time, it was just after they'd won the World Cup, so Richie McCaw was injured, but he was there. Richie started tidying up as well, and all the lads that weren't playing would start tidying up. The lads went for the showers, then they got changed, then they started I'm not talking about tidying up. I'm talking about cleaning the shower walls, cleaning the toilet bowls, cleaning, and the place was. And Johnny was like, I said to Todd Blackadder, the head coach, "What the hell's Johnny doing?" No, this isn't Johnny's job, Jenno. He said, "You know our rules. You do what's right. But you know what the third rule is, don't you, Jenno?" I'm thinking, yeah. Do I? He said, "We always leave a place as we find it. When they walked into this changing room, they've got to leave this place as they find it. That's one of our rules. You know that, don't you?" I said, "Well, yeah." You know, so when they walked out that changing room, it was pristine. Yeah, pristine. Now, is there a reason why they win games? Fucking hell yeah. So when it says that they've got to be grounded, they go to the extent of they clean the changing room with the shoes off. So they're grounded. The feet are in contact with the ground. They're level. Their feet are on the ground. You know, so that's to the level that they live their lives. That's why when they go on the field, their habits, which is attention to detail, you know, character, courage, doing what's right, they take that onto the field. So the outcome is an amazing performance. In actual fact, it's built off all that other stuff. The cleaning the changing room and doing the right thing all the time, and the world's greatest player while he's injured, going buying all the meat, and then doing a barbecue for all the young kids at training, yeah, because he wants to. Because that's his role as the leader. Yeah. Well, you know some of the teams that you've been in, Alex. If the best player in the world was injured, he wouldn't be going off his own back and coming and cooking a barbecue for the lads. Won't be happening, would it? You know. But that's because he's an All Black. He's a Crusader. You know, and that's what it is. You know. So that's training to win. That's preparing to win. If you win in life, the outcome is a really, really positive outcome. You know, if you choose to, and choices again, if you choose to be shallow, if you choose not to be humble, the outcomes aren't necessarily that good. So just to finish, Alex, because I know you're very busy, and I can dead set waffle. I got deported.
And we'll create at least a 5-episode series.
I got deported. I got deported, mate, because I don't talk too much. No, I didn't. So look, Super 6, yeah? So this is what I coach behaviour first. So when I look back on all the greats I'd coached in rugby league, rugby union, I thought to myself, what made them who they were? So because they are truly the greats of the game. You know, some of them the best that play at their level, some of the best that have ever played the game, you know, arguably. So you say to yourself, what made them who they were? Was it their speed? Well, no. At the highest level, everybody's quick. Yeah. Was it the strength? No. At the highest level, everybody's strong. You know, was it the fitness? Well, no. To play at that level, you got to be fit. Was it the skill? Well, no, because you can't play at that level. Actually. So what makes them who they were? And after thinking about it, and I'm thinking, well, to be honest, these two here played in different eras. Because I've gone through 3 generations of players, by the way, Alex. I am old. So they played a different time, different decades, different sports, but very, very, very similar. Hang on a minute, and these people are similar. And in the end, I came down with 6 behaviours that all these great champions had, without question. Number 1, humility. Yeah, the humble. You know, Petrov 7C was like, and he still is. He's an unbelievable athlete. Humble as Ruben Wiki, humble. Richard McCaw, humble. Dan Carter, humble. Kieran Reid, humble. You know the humble people on and off the field. Sacrifice, number 2. They learn what sacrifice means. So when I speak to a young athlete, you know, I say to them, sacrifice to you is really important. And sacrifice is a big word. It's a big word. For you to make a sacrifice, it might mean getting to bed earlier at night. It might mean eating the right foods. It might mean coming to Super 6 and doing some extra training, but it has to be a sacrifice. And for the dads out there, they might have to make a few sacrifices right now. For me to feed my soul, I made a sacrifice. I gave up my career. Like that. Yeah, gave it up. But I feel better for it. Number 3, loyalty. The best of the best. They're very, very loyal. Initially to themselves. They look after themselves. Yeah, their health. And I know you're helping dads to look after themselves. So they're loyal to themselves. They don't self-sabotage by thinking the wrong thoughts. They're loyal to themselves. They're loyal to them. They're loyal to the team, and then they're loyal to the family. Probably not that order, but the best of the best are very, very loyal people. Now, if you look at somebody like Ronaldo or Messi, earning huge amounts of money, yeah, and if they're very, very loyal people, they're loyal, yeah. Sacrifice, yeah, they're still getting up in the morning to train harder than everybody else, even though they've got hundreds of millions of dollars. They're still making that sacrifice. So number 3 is loyalty. Number 4 is, I called it mental toughness, but for young people, it's about resilience. Increasing your threshold of resilience, yeah, to mental and emotional resilience. But mental toughness, they all have it. In those big moments, they will make the play. They will the tough guy. Number 5, follow your dreams. Now, you don't have to be a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old to have dreams. You know, I'm 56 and I've still got dreams. Yeah, so I'm still following them. So maybe the answer an hour ago when you said, what drives you, Carl? I got some dreams that I want to try and fulfill, and it's what gets me up in the morning. Yeah. Do they have to be massive dreams? Well, no. Maybe the most powerful outcome of any dream is to have a loving family and feel good about yourself. That's an ambition to have in itself. But you have to follow your dreams. Once that passion's gone, time to do something else. And the last one is hard work. Number 6, you know, with an athlete, you'd assume hard work's first. No, hard work only just gets on there. It only just scrapes on, because any fool can work hard, Alex. Any fool can work hard. But are they humble? No, he's a cockhead. No, he's a cock. Yeah, is he making a sacrifice? You know what? He works hard, but he could be so much better. He's just not making a sacrifice. You've known players like that, Alex. You know, is he loyal? No, he's not that loyal. So they'll never become a high achiever. Any fool can work hard. Yeah, but it's important, you know. But if you're humble, you're willing to make a sacrifice. You're really loyal to yourself and the people around you. You can develop that mental toughness. You know, you've got a passion and a dream that burns in your belly, and you're willing to work hard at it. I'm telling you, you will get to the top. Yeah, and on the way, you will pass so many more talented people than you. You leave them in the wake. Yeah, the world is full of talented overachievers. Sorry, the world is full of talented underachievers. Yeah. But I'm telling you, from my experience, this is only my experience over 25 years, being privileged enough to work with some of the best athletes in the world, They're all strong, they're all fast, they're all fit, they're all skillful. But the best of the best, they're humble, willing to make a sacrifice, they're loyal, they're mentally tough, they've got that passion, that dream in the pit of the belly, and they're willing to work hard at it. That's where Super 6 comes from. So when my young athletes come through the door, I teach them those skills. Now those skills will help them become better young athletes, but more importantly, will change them as people through the rest of their lives.
Mm.
That it's a powerful thing. So always coach behavior first. Somebody walks through the door, like my gym, I don't care what backgrounds they come from. I have my standards. So for you, schools, yeah, the soft culture that we live in, the politically correct bullshit, yeah. When these kids walk through my door, they just do what's right. They've got to be humble, and they've got to have those behaviors. Otherwise, they just walk out. I tell the parents to take them out. If the parent, I don't allow the parents in, but if the parents show them things, I tell them to shut up and move out. I just tell them to go out. My gym, don't want to come back, it's fine. You know, that's my world. I know it's right. So I always coach behavior first. When you actually coach behavior first, the differences in young people is literally amazing. And I didn't know how amazing it was going to be. So maybe that was the reason why I survived, Alex. I don't know.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, mate. And I love the way that you've laid it all out. And you haven't laid it out through something you've read. It's collective everything. But one of the biggest things is life experience. And Super 6, where could, I mean, there'd be heaps of, obviously, fathers listening to this and people with children. Where could they find out more info, Jenno, as we wrap this up, mate, with your Super 6 high performance program?
Well, look, you can go through my Facebook page or my website, which I'm just changing at the moment because it's gone from like a face-to-face program to an online program. So that's all getting changed. We've just set up our online program is really good. So we've set something up. It's not about just exercise programs for kids that they can download. It's actually to support the kids while they're in isolation. So it's physical development, tutoring and mentoring of the kids, planning, wellness, everything that they need. So just look for me on Facebook, and if people want to reach out, yeah, they can reach to me through you, Alex. You know, you're looking after the dads, I'm looking after the kids, so maybe we'll meet halfway somewhere. I don't know.
That's right, exactly.
You know, I don't know.
Just look for the man who's been one of the key roles in, it was at the Bradford Bulls, the Penrith Panthers, the Canberra Raiders, Crusaders, Warriors, Great Britain, and you've played. You've I guess, well, represented your country in 2 sports.
Yeah.
What
I'm a proud overachiever, Alex.
Incredible.
Yeah, proud overachiever, mate.
World had more Carl Jennings would be better for it, that's for sure, mate.
Or more Alex Ramirez. What a loving, we've got a big loving going on here, aren't we? What's going on, mate?
Final thoughts, Jenno. Like, if there's a father out there listening to this and he's either a little bit unsure of himself or where his head's at, or like we've spoken about, transitions to families, what would just be a good piece of advice? Just something simple or something for them, you know, maybe as much between the ears as in the heart, that he can just sort of analyse or use, or something that you find might work for a dad out there who's struggling a little bit.
I think it's a tough question, that one, Alex. Very, very good question, but very tough question. Very tough question. Look, ultimately, for me, I can only speak from my experience. And my experience when I was going through a tough time, it was about self-reflection, but not reflecting on all the myth, the myth, but actually reflecting on who I was as a person. So I, even though when all those really traumatic things are going on around you, actually understanding that, you know, I'm actually a good person. Yeah, I'm a good person. I might be creating a situation where I might be misunderstood because of my behaviours. So look, if you're in an environment and you're affecting that in a negative way through your in behaviour, change your behaviours. Just change it. Just try. Just see what happens when you try that. Try to be more positive. Try to have some self-reflection. I know athletes do this all the time. This is part, you know, review and preview of the performance daily and weekly is a powerful thing for an athlete. It's also a really powerful thing for an everyday person. Nothing wrong with that. Is to actually review your day and review your behaviours. You know, and do you have to sit there for 2 hours? No. You probably need to sit there for 10 minutes or even 5 minutes at the end of the day and just say, look, how did I perform today as a father, at work? You know, is this stuff in my ability to change this? Will it make a difference if I change? Well, let's just try. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have some breakfast before I go to work. So I'm not, you know, I've got the energy to do a better job. There's a dickhead at work. I'm just going to choose not to listen to them. I've got a really hard day's work planned. Well, no, I'm going to prepare for it and I'm going to try and enjoy it. And when I come home, I'm going to make the decision just to be calm and, you know, so I think the most important thing is about self-reflection, just spending a bit of time to think about who you are, who you actually are as a person. And just look, you just got to absorb the responsibility. You know, if you're a dad, I truly believe that's your role in life. Yeah. Yeah. I truly believe that, you know, and even if your relationship's struggling, goes back to state, doesn't it? It goes back to clarity and connection and communicating. Just communicate, for God's sake. Just be humble enough and make the sacrifice enough to be a leader within the family and take the first step forward in communication. Because there's another person opposite you that's probably at one stage you love them, yeah? That's probably in as much pain as you, that is struggling just as much as you, but communication resolves everything at the end of the day. You know, so it's about trying to self-reflection. You know, what do I truly want out of life, and learning how to communicate better. It's a powerful thing.
And using behaviours to match it, mate.
Yeah, behaviour.
I love it. Yeah. It's incredible. I always speak with the dads about habits, routines, rituals, patterns, but behaviours is a great one because behave. So what you're doing, your actions, and how can you change? And very wise words, mate. Very wise words. I'll leave that there, and I'm absolutely going to get you in for a session with the dads inside of RDM. That's for sure. We'll chat about it.
And maybe for you, Alex, because with my my online program, we have team training. So the team training for the kids is Zoom sessions. So what we do, we get all the kids on, and we don't talk about how's your training going. We talk about how they're feeling in isolation, because kids are struggling at the moment. They've got no teammates, they've got no schoolmates. They're at home on their own trying to study themselves. Just flipping hard, you know. So last week we had Luke Lewis on talking to them about, you know, his sporting career. But maybe if we could ask you to talk to them as, you know, what you're doing about, you know, about being a good role model and what that means. You know, so maybe you could talk to the athlete. Maybe you could think about somebody to spend 10 minutes. They can ask you some questions. You know,
I'd be honoured, mate. Especially if you wanted to connect that with some of the hard things I had to go through, probably at their age, without the internet or without, I guess, certain privileges that we have.
It'd be a really powerful thing. You know, it'd be a really powerful thing, Alex. Because some of my young athletes, and I won't point them out to you, but some of them are in like emergency care. So they've gone through holy hell. They've gone through some adversity. God love them. You know, but they've come through the other side. You know, they're ready to come through the other side now. The good young people, because they've had some good mentorship. So maybe we should do that.
Sounds good, mate. You're an incredible man, Jenno, and a powerful leader in all aspects of life, mate. Like I can't see any other way to sum you up. It's been a privilege to have you on today, and thanks for joining us, mate.
No, it's always great to talk, Alex, and it's great to see you and see how much you've developed from a boy to a man, really, which is an amazing thing. Yeah, good on you, mate.
Appreciate it, mate. And thank you guys for joining us. I hope you got a lot of value out of this, and look forward to coming out at some stage in the future with part 2, where we'll definitely dive into a couple other areas with Jenno and some incredible value that he has to offer. That's for sure.
All right. Thanks, Alex.
Cheers.